Senator Pat Steadman, openly gay state legislature in Colorado. You probably have something to say about this decision that came down today, even though it is not in Colorado. So how did you feel when you heard about this decision?
I was elated, and for me, it took me right back to 14 years ago when the U.S. Supreme Court decided the Amendment 2 case, Romer versus Evans, and it just feels very parallel to that experience. You have a voter initiative with voters trying to limit people's rights, and you have the courts doing what the courts are supposed to do, and to step in and prevent that tyranny of the majority from taking away any group's rights.
Now, Senator Steadman, you were elected to the Colorado State Senate as an openly gay man, and you know that Colorado does have a marriage amendment that prohibits same-sex marriage, but do you feel, as an openly gay man in the state legislature, have you felt any problems, any discrimination, anything that would indicate that Colorado is a discriminatory type of state?
I mean, we've made such incredible progress in Colorado in the past few years. We have some very progressive laws protecting the rights of LGBT persons in our state. We also have a very discriminatory provision in our state constitution that limits our rights, and it limits my rights, actually. It prevents me, as a state legislator, from introducing legislation or supporting legislation for equal marriage rights, because I took an oath to abide by our Colorado Constitution, even the parts of it that are flawed or perhaps unconstitutional. The ruling today says that California's Constitution has a problem, but until a court with jurisdiction here in Colorado makes a similar determination, it's still the law here. And so we've still got a lot of work to do. And I know a lot of people, were upset about Proposition 8, mad at California voters. And it's like, folks, channel your energy someplace a little closer to home and someplace a little more productive where you have some control. Talk to your friends and neighbors, because voters right here in your home state failed this test and didn't get the right answer 4 years ago when we voted on this question. And it's going to take another vote or a lawsuit and a court ruling like today in order for us to change that. So, the other part of your question, Matt, was just, as a openly gay legislator, do I experience discrimination? Do I find that I'm limited in my abilities to represent my constituents or be effective? And the answer is no. And actually, when I was first elected a year ago, every newspaper story said, Steadman, who is openly gay, and they don't say that anymore. And I am just another member of our state's legislature who happens to be gay, and that's a big part of who I am, but it isn't necessarily a big part of the work I do, because I really spend most of my time, working on things that affect our state as a whole and that affect kids and future generations, and dealing with questions about what kind of state do we want to grow up in. And yes, it's one where there isn't discrimination and where all people have equal opportunities, but it's also one where we have affordable higher education and health care for all and a clean environment and all the other things that are important. And I haven't found that my sexual orientation or me being out in any way limits my ability to work on all those other things that are just as important.